It's 40 years later and Michael Myers is back. Does the new script from Danny McBride and David Gordon Green hold up to the John Carpenter classic? Or is it just like some of those other nasty sequels that just need to be forgotten? First off, I gotta say that if you have not seen the original 1978 Halloween, you need to first. The new one will make so much more sense and you will get so many of the in-jokes and the homages and nods to the original by seeing that. Now at the beginning of the movie, the pacing just felt a little off to me. That it was going faster than the original did. Now the original was super, super patient and slow and not boring, but just it was really slow. And it was just determined, I think, you know, and it had a point and it was just gonna take its time and go through it. This one is much faster in that. And at first it bothered me, but as the movie went on, I'm like, no, this is exactly what it needs and I love the pace. Like I said, there are a lot of nods and homages to the 1978 classic. There are so many in there that are just hilarious and like, you're like, good job, that was awesome. And even some where it turns it on it and you're like, oh, hey, that's cool. The performances were solid. I liked all of the actors and they had really good chemistry as they worked together. Now, some of the characters you're not meant to like or you're not meant to enjoy, and so I didn't like them, but together and their performances, I did like it. I didn't like some of the characters, but that's okay. Jamie Lee Curtis really reprises her role well. I mean, she does a great job at being a damaged character. I mean, you can just see how the events of 1978 have weighed on her and really affected every aspect of her life going forward up until now. And that works really well with the story too, because if you've seen any of the trailers, it gives kind of an idea of what she's been doing and what she's been waiting for and what she's been planning. And so you just see this culminate in this film, and her determination and her just, I don't know, sorrow or grief or whatever this is, all comes to a head. Now there are still dumb horror moments in the film, just like the original. You know, you hear a sound outside and you know Michael Myers is lurking about someplace, and so, hey, I'll unlock the door, go outside and see what's going on. Yeah, that happens. I'll be right back. Just like in the original, there is a babysitting scene. And in this one, there is this little kid who's being babysat, and he is hilarious. He is totally snarky, and then every time he opens his mouth, he steals the scene. Each time the new Halloween feels like the old Halloween, it makes me really happy. I didn't want some terrible rewriting or some just gnarly sequel that's coming out. The story itself feels fresh and new, and yet part of the original. And so it is just this seamless continuation of a story, and I like that a lot. Through the story, they even managed to set some of the mythology that went a little wonky in the sequels back on track. And so they dispel these things, and they even, well, there's a lot of nods to the original, and even one or two nods to some of the sequels. And if you're paying attention, you'll see them. I think this new Halloween is every bit as good as the original, and it actually might be better. I don't know. Can I go out on a limb and say that? I don't know. I'm still hedging on the fence a little bit because the original is a classic and it has just a lot of great scenes to it, and it has a lot of good tension in it, even though the acting is terrible. For almost everybody in there, the acting is just horrible. And there's some continuity issues in the original. But in this new one, gosh, I don't know. The acting isn't bad. It's really good. It's very convincing and it's terrifying. It puts you on the edge of the seat. So it might be better. This sequel is definitely more graphically gory. There are so many violent scenes that you see in the new one. Now in the old one, you didn't see a whole lot of gore and really not a whole lot of blood either. This one though, at times it is unflinching in its violence, and it's like, whoa. There's even times where I've jumped because it got me. I was so engrossed in it, and I know something's gonna come, but it got me anyway. There's also times in the film where if you're not paying close attention, you'll miss some of the violence that's happening in the background. So it was funny for us to watch it and go, oh my gosh, I don't think anybody else saw that. There is a lot of humor in this new one, and that helps a lot because the tension itself is palpable. And so you need something to offset it. And once it offsets, I think the tension comes back with a vengeance. That it's because you've laughed it off some and you've relaxed a little bit. Now here it just rises up again and you're like, whoa! The time goes by really quickly, and that's not just because it's only an hour and 46 minutes. The story kept me going the whole time. And I think that's probably because we already know a lot of the backstory, so they're not catching us up all of this. Now there is little bits and pieces here. They do catch us up from the previous story, but for the most part, they're assuming that we know kind of what's going on, and let's go. I was nervous going in because horror sequels typically suck. Halloween from David Gordon Green definitely does not suck. It was fantastic and I loved it. It had more gore, more tension, a faster pace. I think it's a worthy sequel. There's brief nudity, no sex, a lot of profanity, and a whole lot of violence. I give the new Halloween from David Gordon Green 5 out of 5 couches. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the original Halloween. Are you a fan of it? Do you not like it? What is it? And if you don't like it, do you like one of the sequels better? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.